Happy Thursday, Facebook friends. Welcome back to Facebook. I'm Angie Garza, Director of Professional Learning and Educational Services at ROE 47, serving Lee, Ogle, and Whiteside counties. And if you're joining us back here this fine Thursday as we close out our 2023-24 school year, you'll know that it's time for another edition of Teacher Talk. And as we kick off our Teacher Talk this morning, we are in celebration mode. We are honoring and saying thank you to someone very special in our educational community, but more on that in just a moment. But first, I would like to welcome to our Teacher Talk platform my friend, colleague, and co-host, Ms. Stacy Dingus. Good morning, Stacy. We are celebrating today.
Lots of celebrations, Angie, for sure. Wrapping up another school year, which definitely means changes for our schools, our families, and our communities. Today we have an exciting change for someone a place that we really appreciate at ROE 47. And I know so does our schools and our communities as well. So excited to have this celebration and be able to share it with our viewers today.
Without any further ado, we won't keep any of our viewers in suspense. Today, we are celebrating the service and retirement and partnership of our colleague, Mr. Ken Byrne, who is the Student Services Coordinator at the Whiteside Area Career Center. And I use kind of maybe his title with a little bit of a smiling fashion because I know that he does so much more. He has been a stalwart present at the Career Center, works a lot with students, but also works a lot with our community, our educators. And before we push the record button here this morning, I was just sharing with both Stacy and Ken that I can't believe that he is riding off into the sunset. So we are going to catch up with Mr. Ken Byrne here today from the Whiteside Area Career Center, find out what's next and what's in store as he closes out his career as soon as this Friday, I understand. So good morning, Ken. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. Congratulations on your retirement. Thank you for your service to our community. We will be missing you sorely, but as we celebrate you here today on Teacher Talk, wondering if you could kick us off with telling us a little bit about yourself and your career. You have a different kind of career trajectory than most of us in education. So I'm not sure if most people know that. So if you could just kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I would love to visit with you. And yes, you're right that the trajectory was a little bit different. So I'll start with where I am now. At the Career Center, as you mentioned, I've been the Student Services Coordinator here now for 6 years. Enjoyed every minute of it. Really my second career. Started out in the court system. So I worked for Whiteside and Ogle counties for 32 years as a juvenile probation officer. Filled other roles in the court system as that career went on, but decided to retire from there in 2018. Found my way to Whiteside County Career Center after having conversations with some colleagues, and I don't think my wife wanted me on the couch right then and there in 2018. So this has been a great fit. I have enjoyed my time here so much, and I'm going to miss it dearly. So it's a kind of a catch-22. As a Student Services Coordinator, kind of three hats I wear in this position. The first, as Angie mentioned, a lot of student support things, whatever I can do to support those students in our building when they're away from their home school. So whether there's things academically that I can support in the way of 504s or IEPs, I help coordinate some of that support. Any medical issues, any things that we as staff need to know about, that we can, again, assist those children while they're in our building for those 2 hours. And other types of supports. If there's a day that they just need to be out of classroom and respite, we find quiet places or communicate back to those sending schools. So that's a big piece of what we do. A lot of promotion as well. Marketing and promotion is another thing. The Career Center, I'll be ashamed to tell you that having worked with youth for many years in this county, never been in the building before I started here. And I'm ashamed of that because there's so much happening in this building for juniors and seniors in high school from the 18 districts that feed our building. It's amazing. So I do a lot of promoting that way, a lot of visiting with sophomores, a lot of visiting with 8th graders. community, anything that I can do to make sure that everyone's aware of what's happening here for our young students in the area. Third piece, as Angie also mentioned, we have a robust internship program. So some of the seniors that we have, we place with businesses and manufacturers and opportunities so they can further explore these pathways and career opportunities. So I help out with those internships, and we really cultivate partnerships with workforce development, those manufacturers, finding out what they need. A lot of the clinical sites that our nursing students use are right here in our communities, and give them a great taste of what might wait ahead down the road for them on those career pathways. So those three pieces are kind of what I delve into in the building, and like I said, enjoy every bit of it.
What an interesting position. And it sounds like every day is probably a different day for you. I asked this next question with the idea that you shared with us that you entered this position kind of later in your career. And so I think it would be interesting to know several of the challenges that you possibly faced or that you see in education. And then, of course, maybe an easier question is, what are those wins, some successes that you are leaving on Friday, actually, and are able to take with you as big check marks or big successes in your career?
You know, in all the time that I was in the previous field, and I do want to speak to my time here, but much of my time spent in either the court system or in the school system has been dealing and communicating and talking with young students, and building relationships that are trusting and that are respectful, and being good listeners in those. So I was pretty comfortable in that part of the job description here. I think the challenges in the position that I described a minute ago may have been getting the pulse of the manufacturing and the needs in and around the area that we are partnering in. I again had not a whole lot of experience when we talked about local industry, local business opportunities, the companies that surround the Sauk Valley area. So since we do a lot of outreach to that, since we want to implore these students to be a part of all those things, learning more about that and reaching out to those community members and that leadership to help connect our students, whether they're in this building or whether they're students beyond the walls of Whiteside Area Career Center. That's been interesting. It's been fun. And again, I'm kind of ashamed to say I had no idea how broad our employment opportunities are in this area, and connecting with those types of entities has really helped me talk more about those types of opportunities of students, which as many of you know, we serve the juniors and seniors in the districts that come to our building. So they are primed for career exploration and trying to figure out that trajectory. So that was probably the biggest learning curve for me, I think, as I entered into this position. You spoke about the successes, and it so happens that I and the current director, Mr. Johnson, we've been together pretty much the whole 6 years. We both started that summer, and kind of took on somewhat of a new branding approach, and really wanted to concentrate on not so much being the vocational center anymore, right? I mean, that's in 1966 when the building opened, we were specifically vocation. A lot of hands-on trades, which are obviously a very big part of the building yet today. But we also have opened up opportunities for pre-medical students. You know, a lot of the types of the career pathways are going to serve people, nurses and doctors and practitioners and veterinary sciences and chiropractors. So we have 2 medical programs that really have opened that world up. Again, hands-on experiences, an academic class that readies students to be parts of our educators as they get older and through college. So about half of our students in the building are college-bound students. So making sure that they knew that, making sure that there's a wider range of students and post-high school pathways that are going to work to a great number of students in the area. So expanding that and promoting that and making sure they knew this was a career center and not so much a vocational center. And again, just the community outreach, we've always been blessed with a great support. And I think that's just grown. And promoting special things like manufacturing days and union days. And most recently, last week, we had a signing day where we celebrated 9 students from our building that have accepted and will be moving directly into the workforce with great career pathways set up and ready to go. So we, uh, we certainly celebrate the students moving on to college, but we want to make sure that those types of things are being made known to the public as well. So that was a win. And enrollment's high, and I think just even national support about CTE and career technical education is high. So that's really worked well into our building. And our enrollment right now, we're anticipating about 750 or so students next year, which is it's great. It's almost full to the rim, I'm thinking. So we couldn't be happier with our partnerships with the schools and some of that the growth that we've seen of late.
Ken, I want to just highlight something that you said that I think is so important. I work with our pathway program through the ROE 47, and you making that distinction of vocational and career. And I was well aware of your signing day and thought it was amazing and wonderful. And we really talk a lot about that in the pathway program. That whatever your path is, and all paths are different. Some are immediately to the workforce, some are trade, some are 4-year school. It just depends on what those dreams are for those students. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Before I toss this back over to Angie, I want to ask you, do you have any words of advice for any teachers maybe going into the education world? Although I know you've said that your role at Whiteside Area Vocational Center is just a little bit different. Career Center, sorry, is maybe a little bit more non-traditional than a regular classroom teacher. But any words of advice for someone going into education as you are maybe on your way out? I'd like to hear those.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm probably going to delve a little bit into even my previous 32 years with working with youth and the court systems and so forth. For the young teachers, and again, this won't be information that they haven't heard, I'm sure, but to be open-minded to the number of hats that I know as a young teacher or a seasoned teacher that you will likely be grabbing hold of. Um, the students that we come into contact with, the young people that are in our buildings, to always have an awareness of the individualized, the needs, the strengths, the struggles that these kiddos and or their families may be involved with. It's sometimes easy to lose sight of the awarenesses of the differences that families are struggling with and those types of things. I always talk to young officers years past that my normal may not be their normal, right? The things that they might be struggling with may impact a day. It may impact the academic successes. It may impact the consistency they may be giving themselves at school, whether it's attendance or what have you. So not losing sight of the vast differences in the people that we might run into in a classroom or in a public school building. Um, I always like to talk too about doing our best to be good examples, right? And when I say good examples, I'm talking about a lot of the students that we have maybe don't have somebody that they can turn to. Um, so for us to be a good example of consistency, of empathy, of respect. Um, so we may be doing lots of things in the way of setting an example. And like I said, it may be one that's involving discipline. But again, they are all examples that we can set that we would, as adults, consider to be good examples for young people of all ages. So that's kind of where I'd like to take that.
I I so appreciate all of your reflections, especially, to Stacy's point earlier. It's really been over the past 6 years, just this evolution of transforming the vocational center into a career center. And you're right, it is wonderful to see that our culture is now reigniting conversations around not only workforce development, but also this idea of community development. So thank you for being a part of that. So many wonderful highlights and successes. And I will point out, as Stacy also mentioned, your partnership with our pathway work is so deeply appreciated. And we love working with you and kind of thinking outside of the box, or maybe there isn't a box anymore when it comes to putting students on the path to success and bringing them back to our Whiteside community. As we kind of close out our time with you here this morning on Teacher Talk, one final question, and that is, what does that next chapter look like for you? 6 years, a really, and that's only a small slice of your career. I can't imagine you going and sitting on your couch. So what is next for Ken Byrne in this next chapter of life as you look at your retirement for the second time, I might add?
Angie, I don't know. I certainly again have enjoyed so much of what I've done with you all as community leaders and academicians and the people that I've come into contact with over the last 6 years. Yeah, I think I'm going to try to do my best to stay off that couch and find something maybe part-time. I've been blessed with 4 grandbabies, 3.5 really. I've got one on the way in September, but I'm going to spend time there and maybe do a little bit of the to-do list around the house. But I think I would like to kind of continue to be active, whether that's in a volunteer setting or a private setting where I can continue to be cheerleaders for what's happening in this building, and certainly the partnerships that I know exist between workforce development, bringing young people back to our part of the state to reside and raise families. So it's all things that I really, really believe in as well. So I'm going to be a cheerleader and promoter of all those things.
This is certainly a bittersweet sign off. We so appreciate you and all that you will continue to do. I know you will, and that you have done in the past. Gosh, you've just been such an integral part of the work that we've been doing in our communities. And so just want to say thank you so much for all of that and for taking the time out this morning to talk with us. So as we wrap up and we say thank you to Mr. Ken Byrne, retiring Student Services Coordinator at the Whiteside Area Career Center, wanted to say thank you, Ken, for understanding and honoring students with where they're at with their learning and where they aspire to be. Thank you for building partnerships in our communities with all of our stakeholders. Thank you for innovating education, and thank you for being a wonderful example for our educators, our students, and even us here at ROE 47. We so appreciate you. We appreciate your service, and we wish you the best of luck in all of your endeavors as you turn that next page in your book. Friends, we hope that you enjoyed our time here with Ken Byrne, retiring Student Services Coordinator at the Whiteside Area Career Center. As we wish him well, we wish you a very wonderful rest of your Thursday, and even better Friday, a beautiful heading into summer weekend, and we will see you right back here next Thursday for another edition of Teacher Talk.